Hey y'all, I'm Sania McCray.
I'm Lessears, and we're going to talk to y'all about Angela Davis's From the Prison of Slavery to the Slavery of Prison, Frederick Douglass and the Convict Lease System. To start with the title basically told the entire vibe of the article. It shows how it's a lose-lose situation for African Americans, basically because we went from being enslaved and forced to do things to being freed from slavery, but still having slavery through prison.
And another part about the title is it talks about the convict lease system, which is basically like how prisoners were imprisoned, and to punish them, they had to work on white owners, as we call them, slave owners' properties, basically still enslaving them as a punishment. Another thing about the convict lease system is that the slaves were basically making the white slave owners millionaires and rich. So they were using us while we were in prison to benefit them as they did when we were slaves.
So to start with the main points, we're going to talk about how Angela Davis feels that Douglass did not do his part as a black leader. We also feel this way because he didn't speak out against the things that he knew was going on in the community with enslaving black people through prison.
One thing that people often thought about the black leaders is that the black leaders felt that criminals who were the prisoners were getting the right treatment and they were getting what they deserved because they were criminals and bad people. But we feel as a black man he should have spoke up for his people and to help us persevere and prosper, but instead he just let it happen and let it progress and let the whites keep doing whatever they wanted to do, which was not right.
Another main point that Angela Davis hit on was how there were loopholes in the laws.
Yes, and one specific example of those loopholes are the 13th Amendment. Supposedly, the 13th Amendment was to end slavery, but whites still found ways to enslave us. Whites came up with codes that only they knew about, which were called the Black Codes. And during the Black Codes, innocent people were killed, innocent people were harmed, innocent people were sentenced to jail for no reason at all.
The way we feel about the 13th Amendment and black codes is that uh, the 13th Amendment didn't really end slavery, and white people just manipulated the law to make it to keep black people as their workers, as their property, just in a different form.
No matter what, blackness is linked to criminality.
One third of Angela Davis stated 1/3 of all black males are either imprisoned or directly under criminal justice surveillance.
One way this is associated, or the way that they persuade it, is that if blacks were to do a crime and if whites were to do the same crime, whites would not be punished as bad as we were.
We want okay. So basically, we feel that this article opened up our eyes and proved that the world is really cruel. Angela Davis spoke on a situation that happened where a man committed a crime in blackface but was murdered while committing the crime because the officers were convinced that he was really a black man.
Well, with that case, I feel like if it had been a white man, they would have felt way more sympathy for him and not have taken his life like they did. Even though he was a white man, the fact that he was black-faced made him seem like he was a black man, which is why they killed him.
What we learned from this article was, I want to say something new. Something new that I learned from this article was that black people who were punished by their masters as slaves for crimes were repunished after slavery was abolished by the state and sent to prison.
Another thing we learned is that even throughout the convict labor system, kids weren't excluded. Like the 6-year-old girl stole a hat and she was punished for 30 days in jail and she had to pay court fees. And she's only 6 years old. And here we know that kids are not in the same prison as adults.
Another new thing that I learned from the article was that women and men were integrated in prison.
And the last thing is that the difference between slavery and prison is that slaves, the slave owners did not want them to die because if they died, then that would affect their revenue. But in prison, they could care less if we die or not because it's not affecting them. They're still getting their taxes, they're still getting everything they need, and the whites are still progressing because they still have those other workers working for them. So it's not really any difference in prison. No, it's not really any significance in prison over slavery because honestly in slavery the blacks were safer than they are in prison now. To conclude, Angela Davis wanted us to understand and overstand that blacks were never really free from prison.
Yes, the government just used different terminology and systems to enslave us. Thank
Thank
you.
you.